and I have this music background, just nuts on music, and I seem to be the
yeah, he brings some knowledge that we don't have for sure on that kind of stuff. We were, especially me, really dumb when it came to theater, which is what the whole shtick of the show was.
Gotcha.
Where, two average guys that don't know nothing about theater.
Okay,
but we didn't do that part. But pretty much, it's kind of like, what the hell do I know? I didn't know anything about theater until my kids started doing it.
Right.
So Marty, how long have you been interested in music theater? Because that's where I'm basically looking at
today.
now.
It just started today, his love of it.
All right. So there's more over there if you need more.
Perfect.
Need refills.
You put it on the opposite side of the room?
Well, that's where the table is. So.
He didn't want to encourage me too much.
All you have to do is say, "Stop this stupid podcast. I need a refill."
Perfect.
Or do you do the universal? Yeah, hello.
I'll just yell across. I'll project from across
Top me
the room.
off, dummy.
Don't drip as much as Kyle is.
That's right.
Did I dribble already over my
Quite a
son?
bit.
Oh well. Is it a good mix though?
It's
good?
perfect.
Oh wow! I literally
perfect.
just dumped crap.
I
in there.
love
If
it.
you spin the glass towards you, you'll notice the logo placement.
There it is.
I know we're kind of a big
Wow.
deal now.
You are.
Not as big deal as you though, obviously.
Oh,
so
stop.
You stop. So Tom found you actually. Tom found you because he read the city
you read the
paper.
city paper?
City paper,
Nice.
He read the city paper and was like, "Hey, do you know who this is?" And I said, "No, I don't know who this is, but I'm going to find out who this guy is because I need to know now, obviously."
And then you cyber stalked me.
Yes, and then I cyber stalked you. Well, first I read it, and then I cyber stalked you, and was like, "You've done some pretty crazy, amazing things." And
Yes.
we do this wonderful segment on the show called Starring Role, where we try to feature people that are from the area and are actually doing this kind of stuff for a living as a form of encouragement.
Absolutely.
To realize like, oh, I come from Findlay, Ohio. What chance do I have? I don't know. Some guy who just won a Tony Award from Findlay.
Exactly.
No big deal. Bonnie Milligan, who just won a Tony Award again, who is out in Waterville.
Exactly.
It's like, come on. We actually do have the ability to
Katie Holmes.
Katie
come on, we have them
Holmes,
all.
yes. So this is Stage Door Theater Podcast hosted by a couple of average guys. And today we have Jacob Toth, who, like I just said, we saw you in a newspaper for being a big Broadway person. Woo-hoo. But can you tell us, like, what is your biggest deal that you think you've done?
Ooh, my biggest deal.
Yeah.
So
Besides this.
besides this
Number
interview
two.
today, I would say I was Kathleen Marshall's assistant choreographer on Grease on Broadway.
Nice.
Wow.
We did the television show called You're the One That I Want. You're the One I Want. Yes. And America got to choose the Danny and Sandy. So it was a reality show.
Oh.
And all these boys and girls competed. It started with 12 of each, and it got down to the final 3. And the winning prize was a year contract on Broadway. And Laura Osnes and Max Crum won. And so I got to help out with the TV show. And then they came into the Broadway cast. We had already hired the rest of the Broadway cast. And these two got a 1-year contract, an apartment in New York City.
Wow. When was this?
It was in 2007.
Wow.
As the top 2 characters in Grease.
As Danny
on
and
Broadway.
Sandy in Grease. Yes. And they got a 1-year contract, and literally to the day, because that was the prize, they were kicked out. But Laura Osnes has gone on to do amazing things.
Good.
I mean, she was in everything. South Pacific, Anything Goes, every show. I mean, she was just working nonstop.
Yeah.
Max took a little bit of a break, and then he came back, and he's doing a lot of off-Broadway, kind of more adventurous stuff, like the Titanic show and some of those fun little things that aren't as big as the Broadway. But
the Titanic show.
yes.
What is that?
It's a parody of the Titanic, and they have all these guest stars come in and they perform Celine Dion singing, and it's in a little black box theater. It's kind of silly and cute and fun. If you've ever heard of what's the show I'm trying to think
The answer's going to be no, so
Okay,
you don't
perfect.
struggle too hard.
So it's just a little a little parody of the show.
Earlier I was saying we don't know anything about theater. That's 100% me.
Perfect.
That's where Tom's here to kick in once in a while, knowing some music and knowing some theater. And I'm just like, I'm at shock every time. I also have a brain that forgets everything, so that's always helpful too.
Perfect.
So it's like the first time I've heard of it. Yeah.
So I would say that for me is probably one of the biggest things I did at this stage of my career, because now I'm on the other side of it. Now I'm
that's the
directing
thing. I
and
wasn't
choreographing.
thinking you were going to say that.
Right. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I read some of the stuff that you did, and
Yeah.
you were actually a performer on Broadway.
Absolutely.
And I thought for sure you would say that.
Yeah, and it's so hard to pick one thing when you
Right.
talk about theater. It's like someone saying to you, "What's your favorite show?"
Yeah.
It's just so hard.
What mood are you in that night, basically,
Exactly.
for
I
what's
can
your
do
favorite
that.
show?
No. So give us an example of some of the
So
ones you haven't been
I was a
in.
big dancer. So I started in Barry Manilow's Copacabana.
Nice.
And then I did a tour of Fosse, and I learned the show from Anne Ranking, and I toured with
learned
that for
from
2
Anne
years.
Ranking?
Yes, literally.
See, he knows that name, and I'm over here like a goof.
She's a big Broadway
Annie?
star dancer. Annie
Okay.
Rankin.
Annie in the
Rankin.
movie?
Yeah. Oh, Annie. Yeah, she played she played the
Miss
secretary.
Hannigan?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
no.
the secretary.
Okay. All right.
We've got Annie.
Okay.
So she's in all that jazz.
So we're going to go back in time, though. We're going to go back in time because you are,
Old.
The
No.
dark.
You're, I think, third in the room. No.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. You're the Clay High School darling, right? You're like,
Ooh,
right? I mean, you're the
I mean,
one.
I'd like to think of it that way, but
So did you go to like Eisenhower or where did you
I
go?
went to Facet.
Facet?
I went to Clay Elementary, which is no longer
Okay.
even in existence. Then I went to Facet
Junior High, right?
And then
Which
I went
is where
to
they have all the Oregon Community Theater shows.
absolutely. And I started in the Oregon Community shows back then. And then I went to Clay High School. I was the drum major of the marching band. I did
Oh,
theater.
you were a full-blown dork.
Oh,
this is great.
I traveled the country with Nancy Reagan doing America's Pride, Just Say No to drugs and alcohol.
Just say no.
Oh, yeah, I was a total nerd.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. So
I was
let's
in
go.
marching band. You can't go. All right, never
Listen,
mind.
dork. You were totally a dork. Everybody listening to the podcast is a dork. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's fine. It's a
Oh, fine.
theater
That's
podcast,
good.
for goodness sake.
We fly our freak flag.
Exactly, man. We know who we are. Just
Exactly.
embrace it. So when you were tiny, when did all this start? Because I want to go right back to the beginning
Yeah,
when you
so
started in
probably, well,
3 years old.
as my mother will tell you, when I was 3 years old, we would go up to our lake cottage, and I would, on the 4th of July, go down to the fire when the fireworks were going off and sing God Bless America at the top of my lungs, and everyone across the lake would applaud for me. So I always had it in me.
Fish jumped out of the water.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly.
was
It was amazing.
Across the lake, they all did? Or is that all in your head, too? You were
No,
like,
no,
yeah,
they really did. They
oh,
really
okay.
did.
It's a
Because
small lake.
I was a
They can-
projector.
Oh, I guess.
Yes. And my
Jacob the Belter.
Exactly. My grandmother was a dancer from when she grew up in Milwaukee years ago. So she is my claim to fame, or she tells me that I'm
Yeah.
the way I am because of her.
All of
so
her. You got everything from her.
Exactly.
Nothing you did if it wasn't for her genes. Exactly.
That's right. So, and then when I was 6 years old, I think I was in my first community theater production.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I think when
Do you know what it was? Do you know where you were?
I was
Do you know what
Annie, Get Your Gun, and I was one of the little Indian children, I believe.
Okay. In Oregon?
It wasn't in Oregon.
It was wherever mom drove me.
Yeah, I don't really remember. It was a long time ago.
That's okay.
But then I think the first thing I did with Oregon Community Theater was The Music Man.
Oh, yeah.
Back when I was in, I think, 7th grade.
Okay. And who were you in that show?
I was the
Townsperson?
Tommy Gillis
Oh, you were Tommy
understudy.
Gillis
Understudy.
Oh, you weren't even Tommy Gillis.
I wasn't even Tommy Gillis. I was the second boy to the left. It was fine. It was fine. I
wearing
was
a tray.
starring in
You're
the
like,
high
I
school
swear,
productions.
I swear when that wagon comes out, I'm
Exactly.
I'll show you who should have been Tommy Gillis.
Exactly. And then I went through high school and did all the regular high school shows, with Amy Hearing, who's
Yes,
still
Amy,
around,
yes.
of course. And then, let's see, from high school.
So she was the director at Clay High
Yes,
School.
she was
for
our
a
teacher
long
and director.
time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now
Forever.
she's still doing.
She's
theater,
still
though.
directing.
Yeah,
And she's performing. In fact, I just choreographed a show that she was in last year, which
Really?
we'll get to. We're not there yet.
No, we're not.
Don't
We're
rush
still
it.
trying to figure out how you started to get into theater and how you fell in love and who told
Exactly.
you were any good besides the people at the lake.
Yeah. Grandma.
So
And grandma.
it really was in high school. We would go to Cedar Point and I would see the show and I would walk around the park the rest of the day performing it for my family. And
Really, like at the Red Garter or something? Or
Oh
what?
yeah, the Red Garter Saloon
Okay.
and the the little
my favorite
50s,
ride.
60s one up front.
Okay.
The little theater on the left as you walk in. But anyway, so I always knew that I liked performing. And so through high school, I knew that I had some sort of talent.
Nobody came up to you and said, "Dude, find
No.
something else to do. You suck." Nobody did that.
No, they didn't. And being at that time, we're talking about the 80s here. Being a boy and being a dancer and a singer, I was a hot commodity.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone wanted a piece of me, so it was great.
It's kind of still the way. Isn't
It's
it?
still the way.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's shifting a little bit, but back then it wasn't something that boys did.
It was really more rare. It's becoming more accepted, more commonplace,
Exactly.
more.
And there's more performing arts schools, and there's more. There's all of that.
Everything.
So,
The schools themselves have grown in such a way that, like, man, they get you early.
Yeah.
They get you real early. Now, Clay's got you. They got elementary and junior high shows now.
well, now we have our performing arts building at Clay.
Right,
And it's
right.
like, where was that when I was growing up?
No, you built that place.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
So then, from high school, I went to Miami University. Down
No. What did you do in high school? I know you just got to
gosh.
pass.
So-
you sitting there trying to skip and say I was
me see.
understudy boy on the right.
I did.
and then
I was
all of a sudden-
Rolf in Sound of Music.
Oh,
it's
Rolf?
Rolf.
No, okay.
I was
16 going on 17 guy?
Exactly.
Mhm.
I was Toth.
You were a
not Tony.
Nazi. Nice job.
I was Riff in West Side Story.
Oh.
Against Ward Enzign's Tony.
Oh.
So another local star here.
That's crazy.
I know.
You went to school with
Ward and I were in school together. He was a year older than I. But he'll always be older than me.
That was for Ward, I guess.
So that was our junior year production, and then my senior year, I was Billy in Anything Goes.
Anything goes. Wow, you did get a lot of good parts though. Obviously in high
I
school,
did.
you
It was
were
great.
you said they were just handing you the roles basically.
Basically. But I was a dancer. I was always a dancer. And
That's where the Anything Goes comes in.
exactly.
You know.
And boys,
and then you did West Side
Aren't dancers.
Riff.
Riff and West
Yeah,
Side Story.
yeah, they were really
Absolutely.
tapping into dancers. They're
Yeah.
like, we have a dancer boy.
Exactly.
Let's do something with this
Exactly.
guy.
So did all that through high school, which was wonderful, and plays along the way and all the other stuff that you do.
And then you just said, I'm going to do this for a living?
Well, so then I was going to Miami University. I knew I was going to Miami. I just fell in love with it. And
okay.
as I was going, my father said to me, Jacob, you've been dancing your whole life. Please get a degree in something. And those were his famous last words to me.
Gotcha.
So,
Famous last
no, I'm
words.
kidding. So I decided to get a teaching degree in music education. So I went to Miami to do music education, which was wonderful. I loved it. Had
Okay.
a great time. Because I wasn't a theater major, it wasn't. They kept, because Miami was so small at the time, they kept their theater shows for their theater majors.
So you didn't even go to school for this. You didn't go to college.
I did not. Now I did
Wow.
perform along the way. So I did Kings Island a couple summers. I did some local productions down there. I was in Chorus Line. I was in Oklahoma.
Not at Kings Island.
No.
Like
there were
community
some
theaters down
like
there?
a community theater in Oxford, Ohio, and then one was just across in Indiana. I would drive to Indiana every day for rehearsal, and oh my gosh.
That's love.
So yeah, I was just always doing something, finding a performing outlet, because I knew that it was something I wanted to do. And early on, probably my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college, I had come off a stage and I saw my mom and I said, this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. I knew.
Wow.
I just knew. Now, the funny thing leading up to all this is I never took a dance lesson my whole life,
Really? But you could dance.
but I could dance.
What?
Yeah,
How's
I don't
that
know.
possible?
I don't know. I do believe
I
that.
just got this natural, like John Travolta
No,
in me.
I
don't
truly
know.
am a believer that if you can walk, you can dance.
Oh.
And I know people look at me and think I'm crazy, but because I'm a choreographer and I do this now for a living, I can get anyone to dance. I
Nice.
promise you.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's just something that came. It was just something I could do.
Is that
you
the
know?
teacher in you also then?
I think so. Absolutely.
Okay.
And because I see in shapes and patterns. So I see the big picture.
Okay.
And as I have honed my directing skills, you work on more of the relationships, But as a choreographer, it was those shapes and patterns. And because when you have 29 people in a show, or last year when I choreographed Something Rotten and there were 60 people in the cast, you have to know how to get those people moving and all working together.
So
Where was something
Dad,
around
the
that?
degree
That
is
was-
working.
Exactly. It was 3B Productions at the Maumee Indoor Theater.
Oh, get that. What? You did 3D
choreographed it.
Productions? Oh, look
Yep.
at that.
So,
Wow.
For something
but again,
round.
you're rushing me. We're not there
Yes,
yet.
no, we're not there yet. Exactly. No rushing. No rushing. I'm going to sit back and just have my drink and shut up for a
I was
change.
there for the dress rehearsal
Were you?
and took pictures of the people on the cast.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're not famous, Tom. This guy is.
I know.
But he was there. He was
I
there.
was in the pictures.
I love it. So Miami, did all that.
So you just knew coming out of high school, like you said.
I did.
And you just told your mom, look,
This is what I'm doing.
This is where I'm going to do this. And what'd she say? Anything?
My parents were in total support. They were wonderful.
But they were like, still get a music degree.
Yeah, my dad still wanted me to get a degree, and it's something that I will cherish because of, number one, what it's helped me with as a director choreographer. Number two, I always had work. I never had to struggle or
like what? What do you mean always work? Like teaching work?
Teaching, yeah. I could always substitute teach. I could, I came home and I substitute taught when I didn't have something. You know?
Okay.
So it was nice. I always had something to fall back on. And with a teaching degree, even not that I ever did it, but I knew that if I was in New York City, if I had to go teach, I could.
Yeah, and also you're teaching now,
exactly,
as a choreographer.
Absolutely.
So all the stuff that you learned as being a teacher, and maybe I'm sure the training was invaluable for what you do now.
Absolutely.
You have that teaching backside, so you're not like, I don't understand why I don't get it.
Exactly.
They're so dumb. It's like, no, you're like,
don't do that.
Don't do that?
Exactly.
Oh, that's my problem. That's me at work.
So I got through, and my summers were great because Kings Island was so much fun.
But you were doing stuff at Kings Island as a performer.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, so those are college kids that are majoring in this that also get those jobs.
Oh yeah, no, it was me. The guy that didn't have a dance lesson,
right? No dance lesson, no college, no not majoring in it, but you're getting it. Yeah, nice, good for you, man.
So then I graduated, and a week later I left on a cruise ship. So rewind a little bit. I was student teaching my last semester at Miami. I was actually not.
You weren't at the buffet on the cruise ship.
I was not. I was actually performing.
Okay.
That was us at the buffet.
So I went down to Cincinnati to student teach at a magnet school called Walnut Hills High School.
Okay.
And I was working with a wonderful woman named Susan Little was my teacher, and had my whole semester there. A few weeks before the end of the school,
before you're done with college.
Before I'm done with college.
You got to go be an adult now.
She sees in the paper that Royal Caribbean is coming to Cincinnati to do an audition tour.
Oh.
And she said, take the day off and go.
Wow.
Because we had done Into the Woods the semester that I was there because she knew I was a dancer and performer and everything. So I choreographed Into the Woods. So she was like, take the day off and go.
This is your supervising teacher?
Correct.
Wow. Yeah. She was like, don't be a teacher.
Don't be a teacher. Go.
This is at the University of Cincinnati?
I was at Miami University.
I was at Miami University.
But I was a student teaching at Walnut Hills High School.
Where was this audition at?
At Cincinnati. At
Which
UC.
is a very big,
yes,
theater
performing
program.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But unrelated to...
Right. They just rented the space.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I go to this audition, and again, here's all these ballet dancer boys stretching and doing.
Yeah, they got the right clothes on.
Lean to the left. Lean to the right.
They all have the real.
I look like I'm doing something.
Yeah, they got the real shoes on and the tights and everything, and you're walking in there with your jeans and a t-shirt.
And I auditioned, and they literally hired me on the spot. They were like, "Okay, we need you to leave next week. We have this brand new ship called Legend of the Seas coming out, and we want you to be on it." And I said, I've got 3 more weeks of school left.
teach school.
I can't.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to work again in my life. I thought, this is it. I'm done.
This is how many
I've ruined my whole career.
Right? How many opportunities am I ever going to get?
Yeah.
And it's my first one, and you're like, I know. Yeah. I can't do it.
So I went home
again,
and I was like,
Toth.
what am I good? What am I doing with my life? And luckily, a week later, they called and said, you know what? There's another ship. It's not a brand new ship coming out, but a new cast is coming up, and you can graduate on Mother's Day and leave a week later.
Wow,
Nice.
They really wanted your butt.
That's good. Yeah.
They really wanted you.
I
They said, this
Packed
guy can actually move even with no training at all.
I was waiting for him to
He's
say, I
still
went home
so
and
good.
said, I changed my mind, called him and said, I'm leaving school. That's what I was
Not
waiting to hear.
with a couple of weeks left. Oh my gosh, you break his
Mom
mother's
and
heart.
Dad would have killed me.
yeah, exactly. I said, break his mother's heart. I can't do that to her.
Exactly.
Come on, you get that degree, man, and then you can do whatever you want after
Exactly.
that. You know,
Well, they shouldn't have come during the school year anyway.
I know,
They should
right?
come right at the end. Shame on the
so you went and worked on this
So I
cruise
worked
ship.
on cruise ships for 5 years. I did
5
7.
years?
I did 7 cruise ships in 5 years.
You didn't get sick of it, obviously. 5 years. You just loved it.
I love traveling. I travel the world. I've been to every country except Russia and Norway.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like
everywhere.
You can honestly say every country. No way.
I mean,
Peru.
getting a cruise ship to a landlocked country, it's not going to happen. But
Ecuador.
other
You
than
didn't go to
that,
Ecuador in your face.
But any coastal country.
Really? So you've gone to like Brazil and you've gone
Absolutely.
and all.
All around
you've
South
done
America.
these cruises with all the lower cruises. So how many, like when you were on this first cruise, were you signed up for like a year, 2 years?
So
What do?
it's a 6-month contract.
6 month only. Okay.
Now, 6 month on the ship. You do a 4-week rehearsal in Miami.
Okay.
Is where they're based.
Right.
And then you go on the ship for
4 weeks.
6
That's
months.
pretty generous of them. I feel like that's actually
2
nice.
weeks for one show and 2 weeks for the other. Because it's always 2 shows.
Two shows. You're working
Yeah.
2 shows.
Exactly.
So you got 2 weeks to learn this sucker.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
How many times performing in a night in a week?
So luckily, we only had to do back when I was a performer. We had it pretty easy. So we did. There were 7-day cruises. So we performed the first 2 nights. Then we had 3 nights off. And then we performed the last 2 nights. We did one show. Then they had like a comedian, a magician, and a star. And then our show and our show.
So you did 5 shows.
4 shows.
4 shows.
4 shows that were like an hour each. Is that right?
45 minutes.
Oh my God! So you were on a ship and you worked
Traveling the world. Yeah.
So you worked for like 5 hours.
it's
4
like
shows?
2 shows.
You worked like 3
2
hours
shows,
a week.
2 days of drinking, 1 day to recover, and 2 more shows.
Exactly.
Okay.
So 3.
Well,
so you
don't
worked like,
forget the beaches and the parasailing and the bungee jumping and the
private
jumping
little-
out of a plane and
And you
Yeah,
left
the
this
private
why?
employee pool.
Well, I didn't. I was there for 5 years. It was
But seriously,
amazing.
you work like 3 hours a week, though, right?
Yeah, basically
3 hours a week, private pool, and then what about the food situation? How was that?
Well, we were basically, back then they encouraged us to be among the guests because we
you were
really
the-
had guest
yeah.
status. So we would go to the club and hang out, and they would get to meet us and talk to us about the shows and blah 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 blah. We got a 50% discount card to do all our drinking, and it was amazing. Yeah.
So they gave you like 50% off the booze, even?
Yeah.
But then all the food was probably free, right?
Yeah.
Because how would they know?
Our
They're
room
already
and-
making
all
the
of our
food
room and board
anyway.
was free.
They would never know the food was free anyway. I'd go up and get that pizza every night. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
What
They
were
took
these
it.
shows? What kind of shows?
Midnight
were you?
chocolate bar.
Back then, they were always review shows.
Okay.
Now, Royal Caribbean is known for their book shows. Like, they literally do The Wizard of Oz, and they do... what other shows do we have?
So review shows are like what you would see at Cedar Point and Kings Island, that kind of
Correct.
thing. So
Yeah,
these
so
are
it's-
shows that are...
Yeah, like the one show we did was called... The first cruise ship I was on, one was called Land of Make Believe.
Okay.
And it started out on a pirate ship, and then it went kind of into like a Pocahontas thing, and then we went... I don't know, somewhere else and ended up in space. I don't know, something. But, it just...
I've been on a couple cruises. They're
Exactly.
great. They're great.
And
They're
then
entertaining.
they
They're
incorporate
exactly what
all
you
the
would want
modern
them to
day
be.
music that people know and some, classic. Back then there was a formula, you had every show had a country song in it and a rap song and a jazz number and blah, blah, blah. So that
You were the big
everyone
rapper, I
could-
bet, right?
Oh,
You were the
totally,
big rapper.
absolutely. So everyone could relate to something in the show. And then the other show we did was a swing show. So it was this,
nice.
1920s.
Big dancey part. And you were like,
Exactly.
this is my jam right
Totally.
here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
You did that for 5 years, and after 5 years, you're like, you know what? I'm all fat and sassy now from eating all this.
So
you
again,
know,
I was
buffet.
on 7 different ships. Luckily,
Europe
Royal Caribbean,
too? European?
Absolutely.
Oh my god!
That's why he's hit every country.
Australia, New Zealand,
Australia?
South Africa.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Alaska?
Antarctica, Alaska,
Oh, wow.
Hawaii.
That's not a country.
I know, but it's America.
Exactly.
It's
That's right.
the U.S. of A.
Yes.
So I had a great relationship with Royal Caribbean, and they liked me a lot. So I got to pick the ships that I did. So I always knew where I was going, and
Why'd they like you a lot?
because I was a good guy.
What's so
All
not
right,
to
I'm
like?
just, these are the keys I want to know. These are the keys.
Yeah, it's-
so
you
you
know-
didn't get on the boat and act like a big giant diva demanding
No,
more money and wanting all
absolutely.
these things and being
No.
like, I'm super hard to work with.
That's something that I try to pass on to these kids today because it's so much different from when we were growing up, and I sound so old when I say that, but it's all about respecting people
Yeah, imagine
and
that.
showing up and doing your work, keeping your
Yeah.
head down, stay out of trouble.
How much of that is just Midwestern mentality?
Well, I was going to say, it's what my parents taught me growing up.
Right.
It's not like I had to learn how to do something. It's like just what we did
Just
here.
be a decent person.
Exactly.
It's not that hard. We're gonna. My wife and I are going on an anniversary trip to Scotland and Ireland, and one of the things that they said were like all these kinds. I'm like, isn't that common courtesy?
Right.
Are you not gonna ask if it's okay to grab a stool first at the bar before? Is anybody using this? It's like, well, clearly you do that. It's like that kind of stuff. Maybe you were lucky in the fact that you were from Ohio,
Right.
and have this Midwestern politeness.
Mentality, exactly.
And hardworking too. Midwestern,
Absolutely.
hardworking, polite. You get on a cruise ship and they're like, look at this guy.
Yeah. And, I hate to say it again. I'm going to sound so old, but we didn't
How old are you? You want to say that?
I'm
You're like
51
97,
years
right?
old.
I mean, you act like you're so old.
I'm 51.
All right,
old for these kids.
51ers, all right. Class 91, 91,
Exactly.
90, 90, 91.
That's us.
I don't remember, man. 51.
We didn't have cell phones and we didn't have the internet. None of that was out yet. So the cruise ship, we were kind of
when the internet came out.
we were kind of in our cruise ship bubble, is what we called
Yeah,
it,
no
because
kidding.
we were
Beautiful.
out to sea for 6 months. We didn't have this Royal
Oh my
Caribbean
God,
office
we
couldn't
were
contact
almost
us.
like together because I went to Cedar Point
See?
in 1991. We were almost simpatico. That would have been
Exactly.
amazing.
That's so funny.
That really would have been great.
That would have been crazy.
Then you would have been able to convince me to go on a cruise ship, and I would have been like, out of here, man. 'Cause I'm from this little crappy town of Fostoria. Let's
Boy,
get the heck
he
out
said
of
he could
here.
get anyone to dance. That would be a challenge. Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Back then, I was a mover and a groover, man.
See, I can
now
make
I'm
it happen.
Now
I'm
I got
telling you.
boobs, but, back then, I was able to do stuff.
Exactly.
So you were on this boat?
I
and you
had
did
this great
thing.
time on the boat. I have made great relationships. I've been to so many countries to visit friends because we were performing with these kids from England and Australia
amazing.
and
Dream
South
life, man.
Africa, and
cool.
they were all in the
South
show.
Africa
Yeah, we had
and
South Africans
England
in
and
our
all these
show.
people? That's amazing.
Absolutely. And again, having those relationships and being able to travel and go see them now, this many years later.
In 1991, I didn't even know that Oregon, Ohio existed, let alone.
Well, I was going to say my brothers didn't even have passports, and mine, I had gone through like 3 passports before, I was even out of high school.
No, that's crazy. You were doing
No.
some amazing,
It was amazing.
worldly, cool stuff.
Yeah.
that wasn't even in my stratosphere
And you
of
didn't
life
even
goals.
have to join the Navy.
I know.
Right. That was pretty much the only thing I thought about.
So my son did.
Hey, man, join the military. You could see the world.
Yeah.
Or you could just be a singer dancer on a cruise ship.
Yeah,
Like,
that-
what?
That's what happens.
Didn't know that was an option.
Absolutely.
Sheesh.
And now, back when I was in Royal Caribbean, we had maybe 6 or 8 ships in the fleet. Royal Caribbean now has 28 ships in their fleet.
I'm surprised it's only 28. I feel like there'd be more.
And believe it or not, I still work for Royal Caribbean.
Do you
I
seriously?
am now a director and choreographer for them, and I write shows for them. I just got off the Icon of the Seas, which is now the world's largest cruise ship in the world.
I see that ad on TV.
Yes!
So not exactly living in Oregon on a regular basis.
No,
He was super hard to get on. He was so hard to get
I
on.
know.
I
So-
messaged him and he's like, yes, totally want to do it.
in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. So I messaged him again, and I'm like, "Hey, just checking in again on you. Are you still interested in coming in?"
Absolutely.
He's like, "Yeah,
Give me 3 more weeks."
Yeah, I'm like, "Okay, just checking in again." 3 weeks later, he's like,
Here we
"Not
are.
now, not
Exactly.
now, man. Quit harassing me." Yeah, but then he finally came on. I was like, "Yes!" I'm like, "Give me a day right now. I can make time for you." But this dude is working.
Yeah, I truly believe that I'm a gypsy, because
Are you allowed to say that?
I am, because I'm Hungarian, number one.
Oh, okay.
I got you. That
Exactly.
one. Yeah.
So
Take
I'm
a
allowed to
drink.
say
Your
it.
drink is not even hardly touched. Drink.
That's not true.
I feel like it's not low enough. I don't like to see drinks that are that high.
We'll talk gypsies after the show.
Please. But yeah, I really call wherever I lay my head home. I grew up here. We still have a home here.
Mm-hmm. Who's we?
I'm with my parents because my parents are 80 and 82, and my mom had
nice.
a big fall a couple years ago.
Oh,
and so
not nice. Sorry.
no, she's doing great.
Okay, good.
And I partly take, kudos for that because I helped her get back to where she is.
Yeah.
So
you're like,
I'm
without me, she
Yeah.
would never be where she.
exactly, she'd be dead.
She wouldn't be dancing again.
Exactly. So we have our home here in Oregon that I grew up in.
I mean,
My
how
parents built.
proud are they though to know
Oh, my
that you
gosh.
told them when you were graduating from high school, like,
I
I'm going
had
to do
to
this.
tell my mom she couldn't come to this interview because she would have been right here on this couch.
No, we
We'd
had
have had her.
we had Natalie
Now she's
on,
gonna be mad. She's
and,
gonna listen
and
to
her
this.
dad came over.
Oh, now you're
Yeah.
gonna get me in trouble. Great.
No,
thanks.
it's fine. We
There
love
was
them.
no room for your mom. We
No,
better
there's
offer-
always room for moms. There's always room
I
for
know.
moms.
I'll
If she
have to
wanted to
tell
come
her.
up here, I'd put the microphone right on her.
Oh
We'd
my
be
gosh.
good to go, man. There's nothing wrong with being super, super proud of.
Oh,
of-
she is. They both are. My father is very proud.
Yeah.
because my father was the assistant superintendent of the Oregon City Schools. So
Oh, get the really?
he was. Yeah. So, he was always...
So they had to cast you in the shows. That's what
They
it
didn't have a
was.
choice, really.
Yeah, exactly. What are they going to do?
Exactly.
Cast them now or, pay you later.
So like you were saying, I got to the point that it was now 5 years later. And I was like, I think I've done everything on the cruise ship that I can do.
Yeah.
And it was some invaluable experience because what I learned from being on a cruise ship to do in theater on land is amazing.
Like what?
Like
actually showing up and doing the job every night?
The first
That's
most
the big
important
one.
rule is put on your finale costume and overdress everything else.
What? What's that mean?
how we get there.
Overdress everything else? What do you mean? I don't know.
We normally on cruise ships, we have at least 2 outfits on, sometimes 3, because you run off stage and you tear it and throw it and go and come out for the next number.
Your quick changes are like legitimately super
quick changes.
Okay.
Because it's a 45-minute show. And you're doing, you're in
point.
5 different scenes in 45 minutes. And
What did you do on these boats? Were you just like a chorus member? Were you
so back then,
were you Hercules and Hercules?
no,
What were you?
that's Disney.
Yeah.
So back then we had 6 boys in a show and 6 girls in a show.
Okay.
They were called Boy 1 and Boy 2. Were the singers of the show.
Okay.
Boy 3, which was me, was a singer dancer.
Okay.
And then Boy 4, 5, and 6 were dancers.
Okay.
So that's how the breakdown happened. So I was always the singer dancer.
Boy 3 is probably the toughest to find. Probably.
Back then,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, it still is, but we don't call them Boy 3s anymore. Now you have your
Gotcha.
ingenue and your leading man and your blah, blah, blah. They have names now. Back then, we just had B1, B2, B3.
Come on.
Where are you?
Why are they so PC on everything?
Exactly.
Just get over yourselves. Like I heard something today where they're asking for like jobs. They called them roles. I'm like, first of all, if you call your jobs roles, you're already douchebags.
That's like
I
calling
don't want to
football
work for
practice
you.
rehearsal.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to work for somebody who calls their jobs roles. You're douchers.
That's stupid. So, yes, I was a singer-dancer on the ships, and I got to create brand new shows. I was,
That's cool.
part of some takeout of brand new ships.
So right there, you're creating new shows. That's
Absolutely.
a special skill in and of itself.
Yeah. Back
Because
then,
they're
I was a
handing you
cast
music.
member.
Okay.
Which is kind of like creating a brand new, like being in the original cast of Wicked or being
Yeah,
in
so
the
they're
original
handing
cast
you
of
music
Evan
and handing
Hansen.
you lyrics you've never seen
Oh, yeah.
before. It's not like you don't have any. You can't look up on YouTube.
No.
In 1992,
Now,
and figure out
the only thing about cruise ship shows, though, is you're normally doing a review show, which is normally like whatever it's like, okay,
You're the
we're
one
going to
I
do
want.
Katy Perry's,
Oh.
whatever, and then we're going to do. No, back
in
then we didn't do it.
1992. Come on.
Back then we went. It was, it was more
then,
like you said, you're the one that I want. But
You're
So,
doing the Bengals.
it
in 92.
was-
Settle down.
music that you knew, but it wasn't, steps or arcs or whatever. They didn't
right,
have some
exactly,
storyline in it
exactly.
because there was always a through line. You were following Boy 1 and Girl 1 through their journey, whatever it was.
Right. It's not like a full blown Broadway
No,
show.
it's
or
not like
anything
doing The
crazy
Wizard
like
of Oz,
that.
which
Yeah.
they do now. So, so yeah, it was an amazing experience and stuff that you learn about. We always joked because when we were doing our presets of our costumes, because I don't know how much you've been backstage of a show, but normally all of your
without being
costumes you
kicked
kind
out,
of
but-
like roll them into like where you can just step in and pull them up and go, type of thing. So, but on a cruise ship, every space is like
Yeah.
precious, valuable
Absolutely.
space. And normally you have like waiters walking through in the middle of your changing, and all of us are like in our G-strings, and they're like walking through. Oh, we got to get through here. We got to serve drinks. Okay, go ahead.
That's hilarious.
So, just learning how to deal with other people, other countries.
That's a great thing about theater too. Is everybody gets really comfortable with
Absolutely.
themselves and out there.
And
It's like,
each
don't worry
other.
about it. man.
Absolutely.
The changing rooms with boys and girls mix. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. No.
You're there to work. You're there to do a job. You're not
Exactly.
there to gawk at anybody. You're just like the waiters are like, excuse me, I'm trying to serve a.
Well, and even the waiters don't care,
no,
because
they're
it's
trying
like,
to serve their dang.
they're trying to get their
souffle.
tips. They don't care about what you're doing over there.
Right.
And then you also have, 56 different countries on a cruise ship.
Oh,
Of
great
people.
point, too.
So you're learning different cultures, and you're learning how to
That's amazing.
all work together to get something
So
done.
you go off to Miami University, and you think that's cultural, and then you go on a ship, and it's like super international.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you said, you had people from England and South Africa and just everywhere working together and just like, hey man, that's what we do.
And that was just in the show, Then you talk about,
right, all the guests
people
on the ship.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah.
You did your 5 years. You wanted to.
So I decided, I'm gonna do this. I'm getting off. I'm gonna go do it. So at the time, because of being a good Midwest boy, I thought, oh, you know what? I'll go to Chicago.
Really?
It's a safe bet. They have musical theater there.
Yeah, they do.
I could go there.
Nice quality.
Yeah. And I had a friend, again, that grew up here named Ian Knauer. Ian Knauer has been in 10 million Broadway shows. He went to St. Francis. We were very good friends growing up. And
Tom, did you get that?
I'm writing that one down.
Okay.
Actually, this is being recorded, so we should be able to find
Knauer,
it.
his father owned a business. Knauer was the name of the business, and I can't think of what they did. But anyway, so I talked to Ian, and he said, Jacob, do you want to be a performer or don't you? And I said, duh.
Duh. I have this education degree, but I don't want to use it.
And he said, then you need to bite the bullet and move to New York.
Move to New York?
Chicago's not the place. You've got to move to New York. So
This was
2000.
2000. So you were graduated in 91 and 9 years of doing ships and doing Chicago, and then finally you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the Big Apple finally.
Yeah. So we did the Millennial Cruise. 99 to 2000, what's going to happen? I was on the Legend of the Seas. We were the first to cross the timeline, so we were the first to celebrate New Year's.
Oh, wow.
We circled back around. In 24 hours, we celebrated New Year's again because we were the last ones to celebrate it. So it was amazing. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I've done everything. I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to go move to New York City.
Wow.
So I'm now 27 years old, coming to New York City.
It says it with a scowl.
Well, I'm old at this time.
27.
Because you have to remember, on the East Coast, they're brought up a little bit differently. And I'm going into auditions with 17 and 18-year-olds.
Are they brought up differently? Why? What do you mean?
Well, again, I'm 10 years older because they're... I don't want this to sound wrong,
I'll
but
tell you right now, they're over there right now, and they got these equity theaters that when they're 6 years old, that they just put their kids in.
They go right into
next
performing.
thing you know, they're going in.
They're not going to college.
No, it's okay.
I went and did 4 years of college. They're not doing 4 years of college. They're brought up that their experience
because
is
their community
life experience.
theater's Broadway. Basically.
Absolutely.
It's like,
It's
here
in their
we
backyard.
are. We're just here. I'm just going to audition for these Broadway shows, and maybe I'll be Chip in Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
It's like, well, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm walking into these auditions with 18-year-olds that already have a resume of 6 Broadway shows, and I'm like, I did a cruise ship. Here you go. And Kings Island.
Yeah. It's Kings. It's not Queens Island. It's
Exactly.
Kings. It's
So I feel like I'm behind. And
yeah, of course you feel
I'm
like
not,
you're
but
right.
I am.
You think you are.
I think
mentally you're like, oh man.
But talent-wise, you're not. Most likely.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Dancers, we have a short lifespan.
Yeah.
So I will say to you that something that I could do when I was 18 and now I'm 27, 28, it doesn't come
You're
as
an athlete.
easy.
Right. You're an athlete,
because I've been
it's very
doing
tough.
and working on a cruise ship. So imagine on a stage, we're always at the same level, right?
Yeah.
Now do that same dance where I'm lifting a girl and throwing her up in the air and I'm leaping and jumping but when I jump, the stage is here.
The boat
and when
is
I come back
moving.
down, it's here. So like
Boat
an
is
athlete,
rocking. Yeah.
my knees are feeling it, my hips are feeling it because we were constantly battling that.
You're compensating just
Absolutely.
gravity.
Absolutely. So I'm in New York, living life, have a great apartment. I'm excited. And in New York City, you don't have mom and dad there
How'd you
to
get
tell
this
you
apartment? You just moved to New York and I'm just going to go
so
to the Yellow Pages?
I had a friend, so I stayed with him first, and then, you hit the streets.
So
and I
this
found a
friend
place.
that told you to come to New York, basically? Is that the guy?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And he got
that
me.
enough is a oh my
Advantage.
gosh.
Absolutely.
Almost.
Yeah, but exactly. That's an advantage because somebody from Toledo, Ohio goes to New York and they're like, what? And I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. And luckily I wasn't living with 4 or 5 other people, paying $100 and sleeping on a couch and blah, blah,
Oh, that sounds like my college life.
Yeah,
but
no, that wasn't me at all. Luckily.
But you were 27. I was doing that when I was 19.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah.
It was a little different.
You could do anything at 19, I swear.
Exactly. Another friend hooked me up with a cater waitering job. So I did some cater waitering while I was in New York City.
Waitering. Okay.
So it's kind of like being a waiter in a restaurant, except that you do big parties.
Okay.
So imagine the New York Public Library, someone has rented it out and they're throwing a party and they hire all these cater waiters to come in. So the nice thing is we don't have to take orders because the biggest order you're going to have is chicken or beef, okay? Because everything else is going to be the same.
Yeah.
And normally it's not even that. Normally it's one thing.
No
set
tips,
down,
though,
go.
probably. Yeah.
No tips, but it's pretty good pay. And the great thing about being a cater waiter in New York City is you can go away to do a 6-month contract.
Gotcha.
And you come back and you are right where you started.
It's one of those
in a
jobs
restaurant that
where
doesn't happen.
They let you leave and come back
Exactly.
and leave and come back.
Absolutely.
That's nice. In a restaurant they won't let you do that?
No.
Rarely.
A New York City, a good restaurant in New York City, those are coveted jobs.
Oh, really?
And, yeah.
Okay.
Those, you can't leave and be gone for that long and then expect to come back and pick it back up. No.
I don't know.
Yeah. Welcome to New York.
Things
I think that even works somewhat in Toledo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's a good restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, they're like, we need people to be here. We need
Right.
people to be here, and if you're not here, then we'll fill.
If it's
the position
Mickey D's,
somewhere else.
I don't think it's a problem. I think you can probably go come back. But yeah,
We'll hold your spot in McDonald's. We're good.
real seafood, maybe not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Real Seafood.
Yeah. If you want to be a sponsor,
That
come
promotional sponsorship.
From I don't know.
So you go to New York. You got a guy you're staying with.
Yep. So I start going to auditions. Now I'm not Equity at this point.
I was gonna say, yeah.
For those that don't know, Equity is our union for performers in New York City. Well,
And they
anywhere in
get
the country.
preferential
anywhere, yeah.
treatment.
Yes, you're guaranteed to get into the audition, things like that. As a non-Equity member, you're not guaranteed. You go at 6 o'clock in the morning. So normally auditions start around 8 or 9 o'clock. As a non-Equity member, you show up at 6 a.m. You put your name on some piece of paper that someone has just taped onto a door. It's nothing
wow.
official.
Oh, wow.
It's just trusting, and you put your
Sounds
name.
like something Tom would do.
Totally.
Make
And-
a list up
Yep.
there. Yeah.
And then you go back home, take your shower, get ready, come back, wait for them to do all of the Equity auditions, which can
So
sometimes
you wake up at whatever time, put your name
go
on the
to
list.
put your name
at
on the
6
list,
a.m.,
and then go back
you home.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And at this point, I'm living on 181st Street, and auditions are on 42nd Street.
Of course.
And that's a lot, right? We're in Toledo, Ohio. Just
40
so you know.
blocks.
Well, he's now. Hopefully, you're not walking it.
No, I'm taking the subway.
Subway, sure.
Yeah.
But
And how
still the
long of a
distance.
drive is that?
It's a good 20 to 30 minute subway.
That's nothing. Come on.
Wow.
30
6
minute
a.m.?
subway ride. That's nothing.
So you have to take it a half hour down to get there for 6 a.m., take it back up for 6:30, have an hour to get back by 7:30 to get back on, to get down there at 8 o'clock to wait.
There you go.
And then you wait. And
Okay.
you wait.
Not sounding so easy now, is it, Kyle?
He's got nothing else to do.
I'm
What's he gonna
You
do?
know.
Cater somewhere?
Yes.
got some ramen noodles to eat later on because that's all I can afford. But it's fine.
In the bag, the ramen, not the good ramen. We're talking about bagged ramen. Yeah.
So then you wait, and if they have time at the end, they'll see as many non-equities as they get. But it's never guaranteed.
Yeah.
If. So all of that could have been for nothing.
So
Did that happen? A few times?
I went on 300 auditions before I booked my first gig.
Yeehaw.
And that,
My
it, they say,
300?
yeah, New York can give you a tough skin. And my mom
How did
especially
you
notices
do that?
because you get beat down. You feel beat down so much. I don't think directors and choreographers are intentionally trying to make you feel bad, but when you get so close that many times, I mean, I can't tell you guys how many times I was down to like the last 3 guys up for a part.
And these are all not as a non-equity person.
No,
300? Or were you?
no, 300 auditions as a
Are
non.
you feeling bad about yourself yet, Kyle?
Well, I would
Don't give him a hard time
have
about
at
this?
297. I would have
Giving
been
up.
0 F guys. I'm telling you right now, I'd have been like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just I don't even care. Take me, don't take me. The energy you would have had to just keep going.
You have to keep
And
going.
go.
I mean,
Going.
that's literally over a year.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't know that. We
300?
don't know that.
Yeah, and it was probably
You're doing
closer.
one a day.
It was
it
probably
is.
closer to a year and a half, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
That's not bad though. Year and a half.
it's not bad.
Did you actually only go a
when
year and a half though?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You
But
had
when
that many audition
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. But when you don't work,
They had auditions every day.
there's auditions
almost?
every single day. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you
Okay,
have
so
to remember
that's good, too.
the shows that are on Broadway also have to do every 6 months they have to do auditions, even if they aren't casting anyone. They just have to. It's part of the equity rules, and they have to have these auditions in case anything happens. They have backups.
But that's terrible because they could not be casting.
Absolutely.
And you just go,
Yeah.
and they're like
Right.
wasting everybody's time.
Well, they're not, but they are.
After a while, do you start seeing people, directors that see you?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking that they have
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
You're like this guy.
Because the
I
other
wanna
funny
beat
thing
these
is
people down.
they have singer auditions,
Okay.
they have dancer auditions, they have acting auditions. So you could literally go audition for the same show 3 times
Gotcha.
because you want them to see you in a different light. If you go in as a singer, they may save you for the dance call, but they're not looking at you as a dancer.
Why
They're
didn't
now
you
looking at
do
you as a
equity?
mover.
May I ask that question?
So to become equity, there's rules. You have to work. At that time, it was 42 weeks in an equity house.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't getting a gig.
Oh, right. So since you weren't
Yeah.
working, you
Yeah.
couldn't be equity.
No.
Okay, all right. I was trying to figure out, why wouldn't you just be equity then? Why
So
don't
you
join
have,
the union?
so you had to work so many weeks in an equity house
Okay.
to get points to become blah, 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 blah. Or you can just be handed your equity contract.
Okay.
Depending on what, sometimes a lot of people go to what we call regional theaters.
Yeah.
And, they have this contract that is an equity contract, but they need someone to fill it. And, I can either hire you that is an equity member for equity pay, which is $700 a week plus the stipend, blah, blah, blah. Or I can hire you as a non-equity person, give you your equity contract, but only be able to pay you $200,
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm getting my equity contract. So
Right.
when I get back to the city, I'm equity
That
now.
was going to be my next
I don't
question.
care that I only made $200
Is
on
it
this.
good to be equity or bad to be equity?
It's great to be equity because once you're in the union, there's set rates. You always know that for this contract, you're going to get this amount of money. You're going to get this much insurance. The biggest thing
So
is
would you,
insurance.
if you could have initially just signed up and done it, you would have done that?
Yes, but you
Okay.
can't. That's not an option.
But also now that he's equity, he can be part of the list of
If he's equity,
tryouts. You don't have to be there at 6 a.m. You can
No.
show up at 8
Yes.
or whatever.
and then you get the
And
the preferred
nowadays,
seating, basically.
after COVID, you get on your computer and you just sign up online.
Oh,
so you don't even have to show up
now
to the
that
place.
it's not 1992 anymore, you can
Exactly.
go ahead and do that. The
Exactly.
internet exists, yeah. And you just sign up and you're like, I'll be there at 11, and you show up at 11 for your
Totally.
audition, do your audition, go home.
Go home. Done.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're so spoiled nowadays, these kids, huh?
They don't even know what they have no
This is
idea.
like me signing up for my classes in college. I'm like, wake up as early as possible, go to U-Haul, wait in line at 5:30 in the morning for them to open up at 7 to be told that the class is full. What? I'm the first one here. How's that possible?
Okay, so you're 301st.
So I'm 300 in. And, at that point, I was making the auditions about me. What could I get out of the auditions? So I would set goals for myself. I am having a problem with this part of the song. So today I'm going to accomplish that. I'm going to do that, and that's how I had to treat it because otherwise I think I would have gone crazy. And
Right.
You're making
I
a
would've come
challenge
home.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Being
is
told no
brilliant.
a bajillion times instead
Absolutely.
of saying, how am I going to grow?
Yes.
Basically.
Now, the other thing I will say is it was a free dance class for me 300 times.
Oh, nice. Good point.
You think about all the different choreographers I worked with, all the different styles. There's so much that I learned in that year and a half.
Oh.
Which is amazing to me.
Great attitude on that. That's
That's
brilliant.
amazing.
You have to, because otherwise New York can be a very dark place.
Yeah. So are you saying people that have come from Toledo go to New York and just go to 1,000 auditions?
They can.
But is that what you're telling them to do?
You have to do what's right for you, but you can't give up after one audition. I see people that come into community theater here in Toledo,
Yeah.
and they have one bad audition, and then I never see them again. And I'm like, whoa.
That's me in
you
8th
can't.
grade.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Tom's
to yourself.
8th grade Charlie Brown stories coming out already. Yeah. But so you're saying that's what's going to happen then? For you, it was go to as many as you can and just keep plugging away?
If you want to work, I mean, unless.
So
Unless
if
you're
somebody moves to
handed
New
it.
York and they've only done a dozen auditions in a year, they're making a huge mistake.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I
feel like they are.
I think it's different
Based
for,
on your story.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. 10 talent levels are different. What people want is different. You know,
Just people are different.
people are different.
What's one good
Yeah,
for one
you-
person isn't always best
You
for
really
the next.
can't. There's no cookie cutter
Right.
answer for it. You know.
This is my dating mentality, though. When I was younger, it was called cast the net. I cast the net. I'm fortunate enough to be attracted to many women. I'm like, I think all girls are pretty. I don't know. So
Right.
you cast the net, and then if one of them likes you back, there you go.
There you
That's
go.
what you were doing. I feel like you're like
Kind
you're
of.
casting the net when
Yes.
it came to doing shows, and be like, which one loves me back?
Yep. And, you know, again, you can't control an audition environment. If you're the director and you broke up with this girl because she started liking some other guy that looks like me,
Oh, dude.
and I come into this audition, you're going to look at me and not give it to me because of that. And I can't control that. I have no control over that.
Interesting.
And things like that do
Is
happen.
that weird? Like,
Oh,
that?
yeah. And things like that happen.
That's insane.
Sure. It's New York City.
That's so unprofessional. What the heck?
But it's true. And, you know, the other thing about New York City is you have to remember all of us are coming from the Midwest. I was a huge fish in this pond.
Oh yeah.
Now take all of those
Getting
cities
all the parts
in the
of clay,
country
just handing them to
and
you.
put them on this tiny little island that's 12 miles long by 3 miles wide. That's all New York City is. And, you know, 12 million people live there. And you have to think, you know, even if an eighth of them are performers, how many people is that auditioning for a show?
Heck of a lot.
An eighth? That'd be a huge amount. Do you think there's
But it
that
is.
many?
Do you know how many kids moved to New York City?
Oh, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Imagine
an eighth?
Because what other city can you name that
Right.
has
Good point, actually.
that opportunity? You know,
Good point.
Chicago, maybe. LA doesn't really have
Great
musical
point.
theater. That's movies.
Anybody who's going to college and graduating
Musical
in all
theater.
these musical theaters
Where do you go?
are all going there.
Yeah.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
point.
This is becoming depressing. When are we going to get to the happy part of this?
Yeah. The happy part
And
is
the
they
other-
got work at 300. Only 300 auditions.
Well, that's why
in.
we're trying to go to 301 here.
Now, the other thing you have to remember, though, is that New York City, there's only like 12 Broadway theaters. It's
is
not
that
like
it?
there's hundreds of theaters in New York City. There's like 12 theaters. If you look at the paper and you look at how many shows are running on Broadway, it's like 12.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what with Broadway Roulette. Have you ever heard of Broadway Roulette?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how I get my tickets when I go to
Then you
Broadway.
got off Broadway too. So
Yeah, there's the
You
off
do.
Broadway, yes.
But off Broadway is normally not musicals.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Not
Let's just
typically.
be
I mean,
more
it's
chill.
sometimes small musicals, but if you're going to be in musical theater, it's Broadway.
So yeah, you usually get about, I'd say anywhere from 10 to 15 to choose from.
So 10
Right,
to
and then
15.
you get the national tours.
And well, you're not there yet.
Oh,
but
sorry.
The 10 to 15 shows in this one city have maybe 20 to 24 people in each show.
Yep.
So you're really only up for 240 positions in New York City
Wow.
going against a million other people.
That's worse than the NFL. They got
Yes.
32 teams. They got how many men on the roster? It's like that's worse.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually crazier than I thought it was.
So there's a lot of work in regional theater. And, you know, New York snobs don't want to leave New York City. Oh, I've got to go to the nether regions to do theater? No, I'm only in New York. But there are great theaters around our country. Minneapolis has more theater per capita than New York City.
Nice.
Get out of town, really?
Yeah. We have some equity contracts here in Toledo. The Toledo Rep has some equity contracts. You know, there are equity contracts to be had.
Is there?
There
I did
are,
not know
believe
that.
it or not. They're hard to come by, but there
Yeah,
are.
my understanding was there's no equity work in Toledo.
That's not true.
Okay. All right.
So
Rare then.
Yeah,
Right.
it's rare. So anyway, I did my
Time.
time. I was beating the boards. I was walking. I was walking. You know.
300
And I finally-
auditions in a year and a half.
Yes,
Yeah.
I finally got Barry Manilow's Copacabana tour, and it was a tour. But it was a non-equity tour.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even get my equity card yet. So crazy. So I was, if you remember the song, his name was Rico. He wore a diamond. That was
Yeah.
me. I was
It
Rico.
was Rico.
So again, kind of a dancing role type of thing, but it was fun. We traveled. We actually came not to Toledo, but just over the border in Michigan.
Nice.
So
Mom and Dad came to see
mom
you?
and dad came.
Yeah.
We did Canada. We did I don't know. It was,
Rico.
yeah, it was a great little tour. So that was
His name was Rico, and he's our favorite.
The t-shirts made it was fabulous. So then I got back to New York City, And now I feel like,
After how long? Like a year?
yes, it was a year.
1 year contract, on the
yep.
national tour,
On the
then
national
back
tour.
to New York City.
Then back to your city, back to auditioning. That's what you
back
do.
to audition.
Yeah.
So like I had a year of work at least.
Correct.
Did it end after a year or did it keep
Yeah,
going?
no. It was
1 year.
we did
1 year work.
that
And that
many
was
cities.
it.
And it was what we called a
Yikes.
bus and truck tour. We didn't get to fly from city to city. We were doing 3 and 4 nights. So we literally were on the bus. We would travel to a city. We would go to rehearsal, go to our hotels,
But it was only
check in.
1 year of work though.
Yeah, 1 year. Do 3 days in that city, then get on the bus, go to the next city, spend 4 days in that city, and we did that.
Isn't that kind of common for touring though?
So again, Broadway tours normally sit down for like a month.
I saw the Cher show come in, and they all came in a bus.
Yeah.
'Cause they were in Fort Wayne the day before, I believe.
Correct.
So-
Normally they're here a little longer. Normally, like here
They-
until I believe they're here for a week now, maybe.
Yeah, we
Definitely.
Sometimes you're in a city for a month. The 3 and 4 nights are a little rough. It's a little hard, but it's fine. I did it. Like
Right, you don't even bother unpacking when you're there. You just
don't.
suitcase.
You really
right
don't.
out of the suitcase.
Yeah.
All right, let's get refills.
It's time for refills. Okay. I'm exhausted. When is the story going to end?
Well, I'm trying to move it along.
I know
He
you're
keeps
so
going
good at
back.
getting us back. You are doing it right.
I'm trying to help you out here.
Rein us in.